Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, and good night wherever you're around the world. Welcome to Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise Randomizer. I am one of your commentators, Kaiton619, joined by JDP. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, how you doing? I'm doing great. I hope everybody is ready for some Barty goodness, because we got that for you today.
El Spoony Bud is correct, JDP. We got Edward percent for tonight's weekly race. And our runners is Zilch6, Kate, sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Neon Gray, and hold on, sorry, I had to move things around. And Simbu, of course. So this is could be the best seed ever, or could be the most Troyous, if humanly possible.
Well, we've got four of some of the best runners that I've seen this game. I mean, Simbu, he's pretty infamous now for doing stuff like beating Zeromus with just 5 level 1 Cecils. Zilch is a fairly, at least I believe he's fairly new. I could be mistaken, but I've just recently seen him just popping up very high in the rankings for some of these World Series runs. Neon's just an old vet. Kate Sith, I think, has been around as well. All very good players, and it's going to be, I think, a very close race.
We know that we doth need that spoon dagger for this run to be perfect.
It's valuable, but I would argue that if you can get Artemis bows and arrows, or even a good set of arrows with an Artemis bow, you might be able to overcome the fact that you never find the spoon. But ideally, yes, you're gonna want that spoon if you want to kill Zeromus as fast as possible.
But there is no science because they are not in this category at all.
It's a strange choice, but at the same time, it kind of makes you think. Do I fight doors to try to get those levels up, or do I say the heck with it? Let's just go right to the moon, turn off encounters, and juggle having to run away from the dragon zombies and stuff like that. Because it's hard to judge of those two which is going to be faster. You're going to get more experience for the moon stuff, but you might be sitting there running away from trickers and stuff like that for several encounters, which may make the others be able to catch up.
And the countdown has begun. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and here we go.
I wonder who the secondary character is going to be.
No, I just wonder is free lunch on or no?
Yes, free lunch is on, so they can get the characters. Like if they go up to the top of Damsian, they'll get an extra character there. And they can also talk to Edward in the bed and Troya to get a free key item. We're starting with the pink tail. Very, very good for this flag set, because if you can get that spoon and you can put an adamant armor on that spoon-equipped Edward, he will destroy just about everything in the game.
And don't forget, we do have, well, this is all Edward, we have the new sprites are incoming for this seed as well, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct. There are 4 new sprites available for Edward. There's 4 new sprites for everybody, so I think now it's 9 possible sprites for every character. I might be slightly off on that, but I think it's 9.
Yeah, I think it's either 9 or 10. It could be one of those two numbers, but either way, I'll be looking forward for those new sprites.
This guy has confirmed it as 9.
Thank you, this guy, for the information.
Ooh, as a demist in the Marin. Under normal circumstances, that would be something excited. But for this one, they're going to have to remember they have to go to Terroria to talk to Edward. Killing Demist is not going to get them a benefit aside from just experience.
Well, everyone's just gouging around Baron for the free items around the town.
Absolutely. With this type of flag set, there's so limited equipment that you can use but you're going to need money for items to get, like, you're going to need attack items early to get over the hump of he's just not that strong early on. You're going to have to loot quite a bit until you get to that comfort level, so I can see people prioritizing areas that they know are going to have a lot of chests early on. You can see Simbo going right to DMC, and there's several chests in the basement. There's a free character at the top, and there's another character along the way. It also opens up the hovercraft for when he gets the hook, so he can get the adamant armor ASAP.
We all need that hook speed right now, and this might it.
I mean, everybody wants to see the suffering when they're watching. You don't want to see it when you're playing. I think I did see an Artemis item when Simbu was looting a moment ago, so I don't know if that was an arrow or a bow. Oh, it was a bow.
Oh, that is a good sign. That is the strongest bow in the game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is. That and the arrows. You got Artemis bows and Artemis arrows. You might not need the spoon.
So we might turn this to Edward the Archer's %?
It could look that way. It depends on how easy the spoon is to find. And we got some divergence here. Simbu's going into Antlion. But looks like Neon, they're going for more characters early on and shop checking. Which, that could play off well if they find something that other characters or other players may have missed out on just because they were trying to dive as early as possible.
Meanwhile, Kate is actually lurching around Troya Castle for items.
Well, there's a decent amount of chests in there as well as in the town. The ones in the town are a little out of the way per se, but sometimes worth looting, especially in T4 because they could have anything. And Simba just found a glass helm, which when you're really needing defense, that could save your butt, especially very early on.
Yeah, and glass helmets, I would say, I'll reflect everything you got.
I mean, it's not going to help with Zeromus because it does not have any real magic defense, but we got to get that far first, you know?
And I think Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was about to say, Simba was about to ballot who's he at the Antlion location.
Yeah, we got Kate, Sith, and Neon both have a Baron Key from Edward. And we are going to find out what's going to be hidden in Antlion Cave.
Oof.
I mean, we're going to have...
We got double Lunar Dragons. Never mind.
Yeah, they won't last long in this spot with the attack items. We're going to probably see some divergence here depending on, Legend Sword. Well, that's not really going to push you in any certain direction, so it's going to be interesting to see who goes for Baron Key first. And Venerable pointing out, like, even if you find high-level equipment for characters that aren't Edward, that is a lot of money. And with Edward, your money is basically your power level. The more you can get attack items, Bacchus wines especially, because you're going to be using those arrows and those spoon daggers, they're going to make or break, you know?
Well, speaking of Simbu, he's going to go for the Fabu Gauntlet, checking out first.
See, a lot of people might hold off on this, but when you don't have a clear path to the moon yet, and you need to fight easier bosses early on because you don't have much health, it's probably actually a good gamble to go for it early.
Survey says another moon boss, and it's Pale Dim.
I mean, Pale Dim is probably one of the easier moon bosses, so that one I almost prefer to see later in the game. Still, you know, when you're low in health and you need easy bosses, not too bad of a find, especially with a character that's not going to be able to use magic, because you won't have to deal with too many healing him encounters and stuff like that.
Let's see what King Fabul guards up.
The rest are still in loot mode, which not surprising, as like I said, they're going to be desperate to find stuff. Ooh, magma key. That might give Simbu a bit of an edge, especially if a path to the moon is hidden underground.
Yeah, plus he has access to Dwarf Castle, which is possibly he could get a key item there as well.
Absolutely. You know, you go to the Fame Arch, you get a free key item. In this flag set, you know, key items are just in the standard location, so if you don't want to fight the summon bosses for experience, you can ignore them. Like, there's no reason to need to fight them. So really, the only goal of going into the Fame Arch is to check that item chest, maybe get a few more items along the way, and then just get out.
And Simbu's selling off most of the items because why not? Because the more cash, the better.
Yeah, you definitely want a lot of money with Edward, and most of the items in the game, he's not going to be able to use at all.
What does Boreas do, by the way? Because I'm kind of curious because I never even used the item.
If I'm remembering right, and I have not used it much, but I think it's Ice 2? It's either that or Litman. It is Ice 2. Okay, cool. I mean, that's a pretty good attack item early on.
And I actually prefer Grimoires, to be honest.
Well, Grimoires are good. They have the potential to be better, because you can get, you know, the Leviathan summon, you can get the Bahamut summon, but you can also get the Imp summon, which just takes time out of your day, and ain't nobody got time for that.
Well, Zilch found moon veils at good old Kaipo. Oh, yeah, it's Kaipo. Okay, just want to make sure.
I mean, they're a very good item to find, especially with Edward, because that can make you virtually indestructible. And that might be enough to get you past a very tough boss, far before anybody else who does not have that item available can get through. You know, for the most part, we're seeing a lot of areas that we've already treaded through on Simbu. Nobody's going for Baron yet, which I can't really blame them. It is 2 bosses, and it's not the hardest bosses in the world, but there's enough health in play where it could be dangerous before you have really good equipment.
Well, we know that is Miss Dragon in Baron Inn, but we don't know what the second boss will contain. It could be anything at this rate.
One interesting play that somebody could make is a lot of people would normally skip Mount Ordeals. But unless they go to Fabul, they're not going to know that the magma key is in play. So I could see somebody going to Mount Ordeals thinking, well, maybe that's where the magma key is. Maybe that's where the spoon is. And a gamble like that a lot of players won't take, that could end up making or breaking your placement in a seed. Because if that was the spoon, right off the bat, you have a huge advantage.
And Simbu's getting the what's the key in what Edward gives you at the Troy?
That's the Baron key. So every player on the field now has the Baron key.
Question is, will you gamble on at least potential 2 items, one in the inn and the one in the castle?
Well, it's hard to say what people are going to do, because I could see, like I said, Baron Castle could be very intimidating early on. I would think of the 4, Simbu is probably most likely to go for it earlier. But he kind of prides himself on, if people think there's not a way to beat a Cataseed, he will find a way. So we'll have to wait and see. But it looks like he's going right for the underground, which obviously actually not a bad play.
Potential 2 to let's see, hold on. 2 items guaranteed because you don't have the warp glitch involved because you don't have anyone that can warp right now. Or actually, I didn't see it at all.
Well, obviously, Simbu's already gone into Fabul, but for everybody else, you know, if they find a hook path, I could see them going for that instead. And they might go to Fabul late thinking, well, I got to go talk to Yang in the Silk Cave. That way I can get 2 items, key items instead of 1, possibly 3 if they get the pan. And I think if that's the case, you're going to see a lot of very annoyed players.
Let's see what's at Agard. Oh, elixirs are up for sale, but they're expensive though. Jeez.
Yeah, I think you probably would normally want to go for Cure 3s rather than elixirs. I mean, elixirs sound good, but the cost probably makes it less valuable, whereas Cure 3s, you can get a pretty huge stack. Looks like Kate's hip is pretty close to getting his own Magna Key, so considering Simbu has not gone underground quite yet, he could get caught up on pretty quickly.
And I believe Simbu's about to head for underground right now, unless he's about to recruit characters.
I think he's going for Baron, actually, so we are going to see what's there.
Question is, will he go to the inn? Oh, he's gonna go for the inn boss. Because we know that's Miss Dragon. Let's see if his party can handle it, though.
I think given the choice between doing the castle and the inn, this is overall quicker, so I can see why he'd run to that first. Plus, I think the second boss is going to be about difficulty tier with the bosses inside the castle itself, so this will also give him a good representation of if it's even feasible to do the castle currently.
Well, speaking of second bosses, it's apparently Milon and his minions.
A pretty easy fight, all things considered, so this is a good find. That lit magic, however, is pretty rough, considering the very low amount of hit points they have, so that could be a brick wall of sorts.
Rip goes Simbu, so he is gonna probably possibly go back? Unless he wants to recruit. No, he's gonna go underground.
He was like, none of that. I think he's either going to be looking for better gear just to try to avoid that lit. Like, if they can find an adamant armor, the job's done. And very interesting, we just found Bacchus wines, which
5,000 a piece. Not bad though. Considering you have. Oh, go ahead.
it's expensive, but once you get that, Edward is so fast. He is going to attack so much that it will kind of make up for any weaknesses you have to a degree. And we found a second Artemis bow as well, so we have a pretty low amount of Edwards right now, but 2 Artemis bow using Edwards at the final battle will whittle down Zeromus but good.
Imagine the 2 Artemis bow users plus the spoon dagger user on Zerma's fight. That's gonna be like at least easy amounts of damage if it's Bacchus wine.
Oh, absolutely. What will be interesting is we do have rescue on, I believe. Let me double check that real quick. Yes, it is. So what rescue does is they can, as they're recruiting, once they hit 5, everybody else they encounter, they're going to have the option to just kick them to the curb. Now, why that might be valuable is they can hold on to an Edward that's low level, waiting for the end, and if they find a cursed ring, they can equip that cursed ring on one of those low level Edwards right as they're about to go into Zeromus and get a far slower fight. With Edward being so fast, you have to be aware of just how fast potentially Zeromus himself is going to be.
Yeah, if I had to rescue an Edward, I would because I want to put that curse ring on him, and make sure that Zermus does not outspeed me.
Now we have a question in chat asking why are some using only 2 to 3 Edward strategies when there's so many free characters available? And there's a couple of reasons. As Rexroll just said, it could be they want a slingshot experience later, so they want to limit how many they're using right now. It could be that even though it's T4, they haven't found a huge amount of equipment yet, so they don't want to just have a bunch of weak people sitting around clogging up turns. And some of the players just might feel like they don't need more.
I wonder what the Simbu picked up at the Atlanta Summons on that treasure chest that's usually a key item. Because I couldn't catch
It looks like he has the Luca key.
You know what that means? The steel caverns are out for business. You want to grind.
I could see people holding off on that, Joe, just so they could make use of the door grind if that's what they choose to do. Also, a side note, thank you very much to OPT Lawyer for the raid. Welcome everybody to this community race. It looks like Zilch is about to head underground as well, whereas Kate Sith is going to give Mount Ordeals a try. And we'll see if that play pays off for him.
By the way, Simbu did find some silk wells and a couple exits.
Both of those very valuable, especially on Edward Percent, as there's no other way to exit out of an area quickly. So I would almost say in a way the exits are even more valuable, but Silk Web could come in handy just for the purpose of nerfing Big Bangs later.
By the way, Simbu just acquired the glass helmet in the town right now.
Hey, you can never argue with more defense. Edward is not known for taking hits.
Unless your name is Yang, for that reason.
Well, sometimes Yang's not too good at that either. It depends on how much hit points he has. I'm very curious to know what's going to be on top of Mount Ordeals, because, like I said, this is a spot not many people are going to go after. Also, speaking of the earlier topic of new skins, if you're looking on Kate's screen, the first 2 of the 4 Edwards is actually 2 of the new palettes done by Scala Kitty.
And we all know that Scala's art has always been awesome.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a simple thing, but the addition of the new palettes have added so much fun and joy to the game that I can't visualize for Enterprise now without them in play.
Exactly. It's like, oh, I don't want vanilla sprites anymore. I just want the new ones. That's all we're all saying in our heads.
So it looks like Simbo's gonna try his luck at the battles inside Dwarf Castle, which it's an interesting play because these are going to be very hard hitting and very difficult for the level they're at right now.
Unless you're battling an evil wall right now.
Well, he's Bacchusing up one, and he's not going for hide strats, which is a valid thing that you could try. I don't remember if this spot will kill itself, though, because there's some spots that if you hide both Edwards, it won't hit itself enough to fully outlast its equipment.
Unfortunately, Simbo had to reset because he knew that his Bacchus Edward was going to get ripped.
Yeah, it might be a little too early to try that boss. I mean, you could try to do the hide strat, but I'm not sure if it's going to do enough damage offhand. It's actually not.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Like I was about to say, at level 13, it's kind of dicey to go against the evil wall, especially at the dwarf spot.
Dicey maybe, but Simbu's a guy who likes to play it dangerously, so I can see him trying a few things, and it would not surprise me if one of them actually paid off.
I just wonder what's going to be happening at Kate's side because I believe he's battling the second boss after he saves, if I'm not mistaken, or is it to be the first one for ordeals?
I believe he just recently beat the first one. I don't know if this is his second time trying Bahamut, but if he doesn't have Star Veils, which he has plenty, I think he'll be okay, considering the amount of Star Veils he has. And Simbu once again going for Berserk strats, which is surprising. I mean, he did put on a glass helm, which will kind of even it out a little bit. But I mean, he takes 2 hits. Ooh, lucky hit there, only 1 damage. He might be okay, actually. Ooh. Alas.
Yeah, that Bahamut fight was not paying off because Starveil bounced off on Bahamut to start with this Starveil, so it's not gonna be pretty.
I think I understand what Simbu was doing here. I believe he was using the Berserk Daddy as sort of a kamikaze to just put down damage so that when he eventually died, it would potentially put Evil Wall above that threshold where he's going to kill himself, and it looks like it paid off.
I did not know that was gonna work, but that's impressive.
Now, the downside to that is there is one more boss.
Question is it a real? Oh no, it's Bygone.
Ooh, that is a bad find. But it's a low hit point spot, so depending on what items he has, I'm not sure about this one. But it looks like Kate Sith just beat Bahamut, and he's going in to find that final boss, and we'll see which item is up there. See whether or not it was worth the trip.
If it's Crystal, Cases has a pretty good lead.
Even if it's the spoon, that could pay off to a good lead later. Unfortunately, just the rat tail, and we don't have the hook yet, so I have to imagine Kate Sith is grumbling behind the scenes right now. Ooh, and the gauntlet. It just keeps getting better.
Hello, Babu Gauntlet. Where are you?
Now, that'll be an easy fight, but it is going to take some time to get through it. Part of me is kind of surprised I didn't reset out, but at the same time, we don't know how valuable that rat tail is yet.
Well, we could forge an Excalibur and sell it. That's the only best bet you can do with that rat tail, to be honest.
It looks like Neon Grey is about to find their Bacchus wines, and they have a full team of Eddies, so they might find it a little bit more difficult to do that Simbu strategy on the Evil Wall. Now, whether or not they try for the boss at all remains to be seen, but I could see it being a little bit tougher.
Well, Zilch is up Baron. He's been using Baron Key right now, so he's probably gonna stock up on something.
I think he'll be the first person to actually try for the castle. So we're getting a little bit of variation between at least 3 of the players so far. It looks like Neon might just be looting right now.
Well, you are correct. Zilch is actually gonna go for the Baron Castle boss.
It's going to be pretty interesting because any one of these players could find the golden ticket far beyond the others, and that might be all they need. However, when it comes time to grind, that might be where people catch up, because with most of the grinding being RNG, unless you're doing the doors, you might run into just a bunch of dud fights, which is just going to sink your time.
And speaking of Bygone, Bygone is history on Simbu's side, so a lot of experience. Let's see if the key item is worth it.
Even if the key item's not worth it, for the amount of experience he would have got there, that might pay off just making the grinding and getting through stuff later a bit easier.
Well, speaking of dancing daggers, Zilch is equipping them right now.
Now, Dancing Daggers is an interesting one, because on the normal mage, you know, they do about 400, 500 damage. A good balance if, like, you're low on MP. Now, with Edward, you're still going to be doing about that same amount, but his turn is going to come up much more often, so that little damage is going to add up very quickly.
By the way, the Dwarf King gave us a pan, so we could see a possible Yang play right now. Wake him up, go to Sheila, get the 2 items right now.
It's definitely wouldn't be the worst play. It would be kind of annoying because you've already gone to Fable once, and generally the speedy types don't like to double dip if they can handle it, but it's hard to argue with what is essentially 2 free key items and possibly a good item when you get the Sylph turn in.
Question in chat, has Simbu gone to Sylph before? Not yet, he's going there right now.
Yeah, Simba will be the first person to talk to Young, I believe. And speaking of firsts, Zilch is about to see what's at King Baron's spot.
Let's see who the Baron King is.
Speaking of Yang,
Oh, well... Super easy karate fight?
well, not the easiest, because you won't have this Cecil exploit, but possibly not a bad one. I mean, worst case scenario, I see some moon veils in his inventory, but I'm assuming he's not going to need it. The glass helms might be enough to sort of cover for the damage in this particular spot. Meanwhile, it looks like Kate Sith is about to duck underground, and Neon Grey is possibly preparing to go into their own Baron dive.
And I believe we're going to hear a Baron dive for Simbu as well. Because he just saved outside Baron.
Much Paranoia in chat points out that the Sylph item was Artemis arrows, and we already have Artemis bows.
That's a good kickoff.
Oh yeah, if you save those for the Zeromus fight so that you don't use them up, and you berserk that particular character, they're going to be able to use more than that 10 arrows.
So you're telling me that if you berserk a character with Artemis arrows, you won't run out at all?
You won't run out while the berserk is active. I think when the berserk runs out, it does catch up, but you know, if you can kill him before the first black hole, you're good. And it looks like Zilch has passed karate, so he's going to get himself a 4th Edward, and possibly more importantly, we're going to see what the key item was.
I'm hoping it's the hook.
Well, he already has the magma key, so I don't think he'll dive the hook, but he might get that adamant armor. Ooh, Simbu just got the spoon. That is a dangerous item for somebody to have at the best of times. In the hand of somebody like Simbu, that's just almost unfair.
It's like you're basically asking you want to end the sea right now, but you cannot because we don't know where the crystal is.
Yeah, that's the thing. Even with an advantage like that, whoever finds the spoon first, whoever finds the crystal first could definitely sneak in the back door, so...
Speaking of back doors, Zilch did find the crystal. It was after karate.
Ooh, alright, so... We are
Go ahead.
We're dangerously close to people being in relative go mode. They're still gonna have to find a path to the moon.
But don't forget, Simbu might have the advantage right now because he's not gonna go to Baron Castle.
Ooh, that is unfortunate for Simbu. I mean, he has the spoon, and that's good. So this might be what the other players need for him to just not go there yet.
Oh,
Let them catch up.
I think I know what he's doing. He's going straight to Sheila.
I mean, hindsight being 2020, we know that's not necessarily the best idea unless it happens to be a darkness crystal. But, you know, who knows? Tower key.
Come on, second item.
And the path. Ooh. Okay.
Okay. I think he just needs to go Baron. He just needs to go Baron right now. Period.
Well, here's the downside to that. Let's say Simbu goes to Baron Castle right now. He'll have the crystal, yes, but he won't yet have 10 key items. So he's still going to have to get at least one more before he grinds, and if he doesn't get the darkness crystal, his only real choice for grinding is going to be the doors in the sealed cave, which thankfully he does have the Luca key. But he is not going to Baron, he is going underground. Meanwhile, Zilch is about to get his spoon.
So is Kate Sith.
So technically, you could argue Zilch is ahead right now. But I mean, they still have to do the grind. A lot of catching up can be done while one person's grinding.
Meanwhile, Simbu decided to scale the tower. That's a definite, one guaranteed item, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, he does have the tower key, so that's 2. And, I mean, we have the benefit of hindsight, like I said. If you're just playing blindly, this seems like a good play. You're getting 2 for the price of 1. But I think when he eventually finds the crystal at Baron later, he might be a little bit annoyed.
Unless he's trying to get at least the key item here, maybe get the crystal at Baron, because that would be his 10th key item if he does that.
True, but he doesn't know the crystal's at Baron, so I'm not sure if I would say that is his plan, per se. But who knows? He's a crafty one. We don't know what he's up to.
Well, for those who... Go ahead. I was about to say, if you're planning to go to back door of Eblon Castle to get to up here in the tower, that'll be not a good spot because we just found out that is possibly Gomez.
I would assume not many people are going to dive the hook since they all have the magma key. But Neon's pretty close to getting their own crystals, and Kate Seth is not far behind, so pretty soon we're going to have, with the exception of Simbu, everybody wielding the crystal. And it's just going to be a matter of, can they get the grind up? Can they get that path to Zeromus before Simbu notices that he has not yet done Baron?
Speaking of key items, there's the package for Simbu.
I don't think that's going to be one he's happy to see unless he's just going for 10 key items.
Well, he is at 10 right now, technically.
And as Rexraw pointing out in chat that by choosing to do the tower as well, Zilch is technically behind Simbu to a degree because he doesn't have a path to the moon yet. He's also got quite a few less key items, so the pass does not count for 10 key items, so they still have to find 10 more in addition.
Yeah, but oh, it's Antlion at the Tower Guard. That's an easy swipe of the arrows.
And I can see a lot of people fighting strange things because they're going to be looking for the darkness crystal. Because, like I said, while you can do the doors in the sealed cave, it's probably going to overall be faster to get that 10 key item pool and go right to the moon, fight King Ryu's. But you won't be able to siren them, but you will be able to fight a 1 King Ryu fight and a 1 Silver Dragon fight. Unfortunately, Neon is going with Ordeals, which we know, unless the rat tail plays out to be the Darkness Crystal, just going to be a time waste, unfortunately.
But also give Simbu a little bit on the edge because he does have to pass, so technically he does not need the moon. He can just go underground and grind on those doors, but that could cost a lot of time, especially opening all the doors in the steel cave.
Well, the doors with 10 key items, you can get to level 50 using the doors pretty easily. Now, the downside is with Edward, you're usually not gunning for 50. You're usually gunning for 60.
Twin Harp was the key item he got. So I'm guessing is he gonna play this song?
It's looking like he's gonna. Whether or not it's a good play or not remains to be seen, but I'm pretty sure the chat is gonna be happy even if it ends up not being the right play to make. Everybody loves that music. Kind of a tense point in the race because at any moment anybody could have the advantage. We're not quite sure who's going to end up pulling ahead yet. Simbu looks like he's in the best spot, but because we don't know when he's going to go for Baron, that could change quite easily.
And I believe Case is about to get Case gonna get his crystal right now, while Neon Grey is gonna fight.
So everybody's got their crystal except for Simbu now, but Simbu does have 10 key items, so that might be enough.
Now the question is, who is the boss at the harp stage?
I imagine at this point, whoever it is, not going to be too bad. I mean, you won't be able to use attack items much because the spot has pretty high magic resistance, but with those bows and arrows, I'm pretty sure it's going to be fine. Well, unless it's something like Wyvern. And that would be real unfortunate. We don't want to see that, right, chat?
Well, we're about to hear the music.
Yeah, let's listen.
I can tell that's a Pokemon champion theme song.
No shenanigans, please. Only if they're trolling in a good way. I mean, Wyvern Troll is kind of a good way for us.
Or worse, it could be elements. No, it's Cagnazzo.
I mean, could be tough, but probably a good spot to fight him in. You don't want to stumble across him later in the game, because he can do some damage very quickly to you. They do.
Yeah.
Simbu does have 3 lip bolts, though, so there is protection from the water.
Well, it could have been worse. Cagnazzo could have been that element. That's even 10 times worse.
True, but I'm gonna assume nobody's gonna be going for elements in this particular race.
Unless you're desperate to grind and grind bigger levels, be my guess, but I wouldn't risk it.
Even then, I think you're gonna see most people fighting just random battles on the lunar subterranean, if not the bosses. It's a bit out of the way, even though it's a good experience amount.
And Neon finds the disappointment of the Babu Gauntlet at the ordeals.
And Zilch is about to do us an encore of the music. And we get the hook for it, so that is adamant armor.
Please, Simbu, just don't go for the adamant armor. Go after it after you're done with Baron Castle, please.
Well, there's the thing, is like, if he goes for the adamant armor first, he can put that on Spoonward and pretty much have indestructible mode. Then he could go to Baron Castle right yet, which probably would play out better than him just forgetting to turn in the hook at all. But he's going back underground. Interesting.
Is he gonna go to the seal? No, he's going to Land of Summons.
No, he is going to Sealed Cave. I think he might be trying to do the grind now. Which, not necessarily a bad play. He doesn't know that the crystal's been found. And if he can get his levels high now, that's less he has to do later. He might also be checking Luca for darkness, or the crystal itself.
I believe this might be the Darkness Key, unless it's Mega Trolley. But I think that's the only logical answer I can think of. It has to be the Darkness Crystal has to be here in the sealed.
Yeah, it looks like he's just doing the item check. Which I can't blame him. While the doors are a band-aid, you're really just going to want to save till you can fight the enemies on the moon. It's going to be a lot quicker. And Benro pointing out the rat tail itself could be darkness, or it could be a troll with rat tail leading to Earth, which then leads to darkness, so this could easily just be the sand ruby.
If it's sand ruby, Simba would just reset. I can tell right now.
No, absolutely. You'd have no reason to even fight the boss.
Because if there's a sand ruby here in Steel Cave, I will be so mad right now at myself.
Ooh, the darkness crystal. Simbu now has a path to the moon and to level grind. So if he can find that crystal soonish. But unfortunately, he still has to get past the boss here. And that is not the best fight to find at the best of times. It's not going to be hard per se. He does have healing items, but it will be tedious.
Yeah, especially if it's CPU at this spot, this is going to be a little bit more tedious than normal.
And meanwhile, Kate Sith has gotten past Evil Wall for Baigan. And Neon is scaling the Tower of Babel. Which, on one hand, we know none of it is really necessary, but on the other hand, key items. Which, I mean, you could argue that the key items alone are necessary on this particular flag set.
And if I was... Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
If I was Simbu right now, I would try to avoid ordeals as best as he can after this fight.
If I was a betting person, I would say Simba would go to Baron first. Unless he thinks that nobody else is going to Ordeal. Because we haven't had a finisher yet in the race, so I could see why some veterans might think, well, everybody's avoiding ordeals, I should go there. Simba with an interesting play of berserking one Edward while having one hidden with this fight. So he's gonna have to suffer globes, but you know, he might get lucky and get the kill off before too much damage is done. And Artemis Arrows for sale in Elven Cave. That is a very good find.
For those who want unlimited arrows, go right ahead and pay all your money if you need to.
Simbu trying to beat out the globes.
Well, there goes his berserker.
That's not too bad. He can set it up again. But he does have to live long enough to do so. I believe that Cure 2 was an insurance policy of sorts.
Yeah, but would you, I just wonder if he can survive the fight in the CPU right now.
Well, the way things are going, I think so. It's just whether or not he can recover in time before too much healing is done to the actual CPU. But he does have the healer down now. Meanwhile, Zilch is going into the Luca Cave now, and he's going to get Darkness Crystal, which means that he will be pretty much in go mode, full stop, aside from just doing the grind. We know he still has to get past CPU himself, though. Let's see, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, he has 10 key items, so once he gets a Darkness Crystal, he's pretty much good to go. He can just go right up and grind right away.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame him if he tries to grind on either the King Ryu's or the doors at this rate after he's done with CPU.
It's going to be interesting to see which of them goes to where they need to go first. Because Simbu could still cost himself by going to our deals, and I think at this late stage in the game, I could see why somebody would go there. Whereas Zilch will already have everything he needs aside from just the grind, so I don't think he'll be as much in danger of getting distracted.
Well, the healing percent still continues on Simbu's side.
It's gonna be a long fight no matter how you're looking at it. I mean, the spoon does work, but you know, you're still low damage. You can't take, or low health. You can't take too many of those mazers. This is probably the best you're gonna do.
And Zilch just got his Darkness Crystal, so he is on his way to possibly the grind after the CPU fight if he survives long enough.
It's percent damage, but it will kill you eventually. And he has a fair amount of healing items, but I don't think he has like a huge stack of like 40 Cure 3s, so... And you do want to save some of that stuff for the actual end game. Now, that being said, the fight's been going on long enough to where I think it's likely for Simbu to survive it at this point. He's figured out what the strategy is. It's just a matter of getting it done. Meanwhile, Neon Grey is past Evil Wall, about to fight Bear Bagan. It would not surprise me to see a very similar strategy put in play on Zilch's screen, but I wouldn't be surprised if Zilch just chooses to tank the hits and just go all out damage-wise. Which, maybe they have more healing items. I have not gotten a good look at their inventory lately.
Yeah, same here. But I believe he decided not to berserk. Maybe just go all out on CPU and then just go ham without berserking.
I think lacking the berserking is just making sure he doesn't accidentally take the attacker out, and also giving him more opportunities to go into defense mode if need be. Oh yeah, he has 45 cure 2s. He should be more than okay to recover when needed to. So there's actually a fairly good chance that Zilch may beat Simbu to the win here. Even though Zilch has a bit of a head start, it's kind of up in air.
Yeah, Neon's taking on Vigan right now. They've been using Grimoires for more majority of the battle. Right now it's just DPS City, and oh boy, here comes explosions coming out.
Yeah, they have 5 Edwards. They'll survive it no matter what. They'll lose out on experience and a couple. Oh, not even that. Very good job.
And Kate is about to get his pass and tower key.
See, what I'm wondering is, with how long the seed's been running and nobody's finished, after about an hour, you start to think when you're running, what can I do creatively that other people are unlikely to do? And I would think at least one person could potentially think, I might just do the doors. I'll get grinded up before everybody else. Which may or may not end up biting you in the butt. And Zilch has beaten CPU before Simbu, but Simbu is right behind him. So the strategy Simbu chose did not pay off in this respect. It did in the sense that he won the fight, but somebody snuck in the back door.
Yeah, but he gained him at least 12 levels. So
I mean, that's good. But at the same time, the person that did sneak in the back door is probably not the person he wanted to.
I just wonder if Simbu's gonna start grinding, or he's just saying, nah, I'm just gonna head out.
I don't think he'll go for the doors. I think Simbu would probably hang out for the higher experience values. And since nobody has said done or anything, I don't think he necessarily has a reason to believe he's behind yet. I would assume he's just going to try to hunt down the crystal ASAP.
Well, speaking of waking up Yang with the pan, Neon Gray, I think they are going to be heading to Sheila right now.
It'd definitely be a good play to make, you know. All of them are getting pretty close, if they're not already there, to having the 10 key items. And then it's just a matter of, like, where do I have to go to get a pass? Where do I have to go to get this? And as we know, they're going to get a pass fairly shortly.
Question in chat, where is Artemis arrows? They are at Evelyn Cave, and you can get one from the Silk Cave.
Yeah. I can definitely see at least one player thinking, oh, these chumps are going to be looking for the darkness crystal. I'm just going to grind using the doors and sneak in the back door. Which is kind of ironic considering where the darkness crystal actually is, but I can see somebody thinking they can pull the wool over somebody's eyes doing that technique.
Well, Neon Gray just got the pass, and I wonder where are they going right now. Looks like They might go on the ground. Yeah, I sense the door.
Simbu is actually getting the lunar whale and going to the moon, I think, which that's gonna hurt him. Oh no, he's just opening up the path. I think he's going to Baron now. No.
Baron. What? He's not going Baron. He's going to.
Oh, I think he's gonna go get his adamant armor.
Yeah, plus he has to get his 5th character at least.
I could see him killing off the 5th character and using them as an agility anchor. I had forgotten that he has never actually gone into Damsien yet. That kind of threw me off for a second.
I can't remember it. I can't remember that he didn't go Damsien at all because he was all went to Bullthorst instead of Damsien.
Yeah, you usually expect most people to hit Damsien pretty early just for the amount of chest available. So it's a little surprising, but I mean, Simbu's somebody that knows what he's doing, so it probably saves time in the end to save it till you absolutely need it.
I'm just wondering if Zilch is gonna grind on King Ryu's right now, since he is on the moon right now.
Yeah, Venerable pointing out, those who do try the door grind are going to be very disappointed because after all the doors, you're not going to be at level 60. You're going to be closer to 50, and you're only going to have around 1,000 to 1,000, maybe 200 at the most hit points. Which you'll be ready to fight bosses on the moon, but you're not going to be ready to fight Zeromus. And at that point, it would have been faster to just go to the moon, use some hourglasses to fight some mobs, and get up that way.
Well, speaking of not going Baron, Simbu decided to go to the moon instead.
Oh, Simbu. I feel bad for him.
Can it safe to say that this is Zilch's race to lose at this point?
I would, short of somebody not restreamed sneaking in, I would think Zilch is probably the most likely to win at this point. But you never know. Like I said, you could stumble into a couple of zombie dragons and you have to keep running from them, and it's just waste time. And Dusty Griff pointing out in chat, what Simbu is doing is not necessarily bad per se. We think it's bad because he does not have the crystal yet, and we don't know when he's going to get it. But I mean, if he can get his grind out of the way early, he does have the pass, so he just needs to go right down to the castle, sneak in the back door, and possibly win. Whether or not that plays out that way remains to be seen. Like, he could do his grind and then end up going to Mount Ordeal.
Well, here's the funny thing right now, is Zilch is doing this King Ryu grind right now.
Well, I mean, having them both grind at the same time, not exactly bad, but depending on what Zilch does and when Zilch feels comfortable, you know, Simbu might feel comfortable before Zilch is done with his grind, and he might have enough time to go get that crystal before Zilch decides, I'm going for Zeromus. Zilch might have an unfortunate tragedy happen during the Zeromus fight, which allows Simbu to catch up and sneak in that back door. So it's still very much, it leans towards Zilch winning, but it's not set in stone yet.
And we all know that Life Glitch is in play for Zilch as well.
Meanwhile, Neon Gray going for the Darkness Crystal, and I believe they're at 10 key items, so I don't believe they're going to be too far behind on heading up to grind if they can get past the CPU. Oh, they have well over 10 key items. Yeah, I think we're getting very close to the point in the seed where everybody's going to start thinking about the grind foremost. because they're all going to have 10 key items. And it's just going to be a matter, I think, of who finishes the grind and who thinks they're ready earliest.
And it's mostly likely everyone's gonna go to the moon and grind on those King Ryus after all.
Knewton asking, what is the seed? This is an Edward % World Series of Free Enterprise Rules seed. All you get is Edward, and good luck to you. It sounds bad on paper, but I assure you, it's a very fun flag set to run.
For my preference, I prefer a more torturous seed. More like, how should I say this? Cadillac seed for my taste.
I'm pretty curious to see who's going to feel comfortable first. Because while Simbu is technically behind, of all the players, I would say Simbu is probably the most likely to think that he can go in earlier than the rest.
But is he actually grinding on the Warlocks?
I mean, it would not be my first choice, but at the same time, they're gonna hit less hard than the Dragon. So, for safety's sake, that could be something. Also, you have the option of doing 2 life glitches if you get the opportunity rather than 1. So maybe it evens out. It's certainly not a grind I've thought about in the past, but like I said, Simbu is a player that knows what he's doing, so I can't fault him, because he probably knows better than I do. Yeah, it looks like we're about to get an encore with music on Kate Sith time.
For those who like Pokemon music, well, you're gonna be happy with this one again.
Knewton clarifying his question was less, what is the seed and why this seed? Feeling that this is an exercise in sadism. On paper, I can see why people would think a Edward % seed is just awful. But really, Edward is a lot more versatile than people give him credit for. It's actually a very fun seed that makes you think about things from a different side and perspective. I would even argue that doing a few Edward % seeds might make you overall a better player in the end. Because you'll have to think, well, how do I get past this? I'm going to need to get this attack item to get past this earlier. Stuff like that could be very beneficial even in other flag sets.
Well, I can actually argue with that. If you do, it's either you get better doing as an Edward % running, or you can actually do a Cadillac %, because Cadillac % will actually put you to the limit, like how well I can accommodate with these items in the treasure chest compared to every shop when it's all cabins.
Yeah, and if you really hate yourself, Edward % Catalyte seed.
Oh God!
I know one of you is going to try it.
Don't push that button, man! You just had to push it.
Yeah, Nesse is also saying a few single-player flag sets good for the same reason. I would say doing the biggest variety of flag sets can only improve your playing, as you're going to be ready for every situation that could possibly come up.
Well, you could go more Massachusetts if you want to put every Cadillac %. Might as well put a permadeath rule into it as well.
How about all Tella's Cata seed?
Okay, that's pushing it to wait. Are you crazy % mode?
Would not surprise me if not only has Simbu played it, but has beaten it.
I hope Simbu's not Oh, whoa, Calcobraina on Simbu's side.
Nice. I think he's switching to bosses now because it's easier than trying to get the grind, the proper fight, just going for random encounters. And this fight in particular is good because he does have hourglasses, so he can kind of prevent the forming. What? What's wrong with Telecataseed? I'm sure it's nothing but pleasant.
Well, that will push you to the ultimate limit, saying, like, how well can I handle 5 Telas against Zermus with the limited items I have in my arsenal?
Hey, if you can't handle Tela at his weakest, you don't deserve him at his best, okay? While the grind is going on, we see Kate Sith. He's finished music. Now it's going to be interesting to see where they go now because they've got most everything. Looks like they're going for that adamant armor. Oh no. Oh, maybe they're getting some arrows. I forget if he has found the arrows early in the seed.
I think he has, because he's actually going inside Avalon Cave right now. So I wouldn't be too surprised. He's gonna buy a ton of arrows right now for his 5 mini Edward.
Meanwhile, Neon is breaking out the Lunar Whale, so I don't think they're too far behind grind percent with the other two. Ah yes, everybody, shower praise on Scala today for the gift of these new skins that we've had the chance of seeing at least 2 of them. I am pretty fond of the red-haired. I think that's my favorite of the Edward set. Kate Sith has one of the red-haired.
Have you seen the Sids yet, JDP?
Oh, I sure have. Everybody.
Go ahead. I was about to say, how about that Mega Man skin?
Mega Man, by far, Mega Man Sid is such the perfect skin. If you haven't seen it yet, by all means, after this race, roll a Sid only seed and just perfection.
Or there's something that can top Mega Man Sid. How about a little Wario Sid?
I mean, as good as the Mega Man Sid is, I think most of us can agree all of Scala work is pretty good.
Yeah, for anyone who likes Scala's art for these palette fights, you have to thank her for this. Yeah, she did an awesome job making this new set of fabulous palette swaps.
And while I already said it on the day, it was just I think yesterday or the day before. Let's all wish a happy belated birthday to Scala Kitty. Looks like
is Simbu grinding on something?
It looks like he's still on the grind, yes. I think both of them are still. You're probably going to see them grinding till around bare minimum 1,600 health. I could even see most people waiting till around 2,000 health just for safety, because I mean, if they don't nerf a Big Bang, just having 1,600 is as good as a wipe.
I wouldn't be surprised if they granted maybe at least 2k for each Edward. Except for the one that needs to be anchoring down the agility.
Well, I could see somebody going in a little bit earlier than 2,000 if they think that that's going to give them the edge to sneak in while everybody else is still preparing.
Actually, according to InBen, You can go around 1500 to 1700, especially if you have the adamant armor and the spoon.
Oh, it's highly possible. It's just a matter of, do you have good equipment and how good are you at nerfing big bangs? Which, somebody like Simbu, they probably are on top of the big bang nerfing. Now Zilch, I've got a passing familiarity with Zilch just from racing against him, but I don't know strategically how likely he is to go in early.
Well, if you want to be trolled by the rat tail, you got your wish, JDP, because the rat tail gave us Earth Crystal.
Oh no. I mean, I don't think Kate's gonna go for it because they have already got all the parts they need. They've already got 5 Edwards. I think they were only really there for the adamant. And while they were there, why not turn in the rat tail just for funsies?
Well, here's the beauty part about this. Kate Sith could possibly sneak behind both Zilch and Simbu if he plays the right path. And I believe he might be going for the door grinding.
I'm not gonna say it's the wrong idea, but it's probably not the idea I would go with. And like Benro said, he doesn't fault Zilch for overgrinding, and I can't fault him either, because when I play an Edward % seed, I'm likely to wait till around the 2000 mark, unless I've just got such good equipment that I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. But with somebody like Edward, who a lot of people kind of dread seeing under normal circumstances, I could see a lot of mentality of the better safe than sorry viewpoint.
Well, think about it this way. Zilch is about to hit 2K soon on each Edward possible.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Zilch going for Zeromus pretty soon.
Speaking of door grinds, I was right. Kate is actually grinding on the doors.
I didn't say I really want to see it, Rex. I said I expect somebody to try it thinking they can sneak in the back door. Because what better way to sneak in the back door than the trap door? Please, boo me as necessary.
Hey, don't worry about it, because I love the puns anyway.
Hey, I'm not much of a pun person. I gotta sneak one in every now and again. It looks like Zilch might be done. So we might be getting to see the standard catchphrase of whose butt we're going to be kicking tonight in just a moment.
Please, Slimus from Dragon Warrior 1. I'll be happy as hell.
I'm kind of hoping for a new one. Something that has not been seen much.
Well, earlier in my seat, I pulled a Wario again, so I'm like, ugh. I've already seen this fight already. Give me something new.
Invenerable actually pointing out something. Zilch does not have an agility anchor, which, as we had mentioned earlier in the race, Edward's really fast. That could mean that Zeromus himself is going to be really fast, and that could be bad.
And that could possibly bite Zilch grinding that he doesn't have an anchor.
Yeah, Veneral was saying that the agility point that he has right now is very bad. I'm not going to pretend I understand the math of agility anchoring, but generally, if you don't have a multiple of 14, you want it to be as low as possible.
Let's see who is Zeromus for tonight, folks.
No. He has the chance to get the win here. He would be in first place as long as nobody not on stream sneaks in. It's all going to depend on how fast that Zeromus is going, and it actually looks not that bad, at least on paper.
Well, we're about to find out who is Zeromus for today. Survey says... Okay, X-Death, we had enough of you.
Oh, is that who that is? I haven't played Final Fantasy V in quite some time, so I was like, well, ain't that a pretty fella?
Oh, never mind. Vin just informed me. Creator from the After Years.
See, I played the After Years when it first released on the Wii U. I need to replay it. I have no real memory of it at this point. The only bit I remember is that you can do band attacks, and if you have the original Final Fantasy IV party, they have a band attack called the Final Fantasy. Meanwhile, on Simbu's screen, he has decided to go back to Earth, so I think we're going to start seeing the hunt for the crystal now. More like the Natter years. It's not that bad.
I'm just wondering if Simbu is going to grab the crystal right now, Baron. No, he's not!
Ooh.
Well, guys, get your F's out in the chat for Simbu's wrong dice of play.
I told you, as you get later on in the seed, you're going to start thinking, what are people less likely to do? And unfortunately, it was the perfect trap.
Or unless he's just gained the anchor Edward.
That is possible, but it doesn't look like, unfortunately.
Oh, no. No. Simbu, you just made one huge mistake, my friend.
The only real upside to this is that at his current levels, these fights will be negligible at best, so he still has a very strong chance of finishing up really quickly, and depending on how Zilch's fight goes, he could still sneak in because he does have the pass. I mean, looking at Zilch's fight, it looks like it's going pretty smoothly so far. But, I mean, even if he doesn't get first, Simbu could still pull a very strong second.
Yeah, I don't see Simbu falling behind, at least from top 8, at least.
And meanwhile, it looks like Kate has opted to fight regular mobs inside the sealed cave rather than trying to find the darkness crystal, which in his place I kind of understand, but... Oh wait, no, that was another door. Okay, he's still working on the door. For some reason I saw the yellow dragon, thought he was just giving an encounter. That's not as bad then.
Oh yeah, that's right. Chat just informed me about this. The gauntlet's the problem!
Oh yes, the gauntlet. I forgot that was there. I mean, it's still going to be fairly quick, only one hit per enemy, but it's still going to eat up some time. But both Neon and Kate are well behind in hit points, so I think Simba will have enough time to at least get second, outside of somebody not restreaming, sneaking in and grabbing it.
Well, I'm checking out the race room just in case if that happens.
Oh yeah, I've got it open. I've got a PVI. Because even though you're seeing 4 people on the stream, there's quite a few more people on the race, and it looks like we're almost done.
Yeah, I see medial phase on Zilch's side.
Almost, and...
One more hit. This should do it.
There it is. Zilch first place with a time of 1:21.14. Very nice.
This saddens me. I never finished the action years for FF4, to be honest. I only finished the vanilla FF4.
It's a fairly fun game to go through. So
Well,
with that finish, I think this is going to cause some interesting reactions for the people still playing. Because when you see that first finish, you start thinking, "Oh boy, what have I done wrong?" And some people who might not be ready to go to the grind might go, "You know what? I got to do it now."
now we have to see. I bet you everyone's in their minds are saying like, "What have I not done right? Which location I did not push through yet?"
I mean, at this late point in the raid room, not many things are left on the table. You almost gotta hope nobody's gonna think, well, maybe the darkness crystal is behind the earth crystal, who may have checked the rat or something, but I would say that would be fairly unlikely at this point. I think at this point, it's kind of a question of how many people not streamed are currently in the Zeromus fight. And we're gonna hopefully get Zilch in here for a little interview in a moment. I'm sure you have plenty of questions to ask him.
Oh, you know I got questions already in my arsenal.
Looks like Simbu's trying for the rat tail, so a potential other trap is laying in wait. And I think I just heard Zilch pop in, so welcome Zilch, and GG's on the win.
Can you hear us, Zilch?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Great.
GG.
Thank you. It's invulnerable for the grind location. I don't know if it made a big difference, but it seemed pretty good.
Well, Zilch, I will play a little spoiler for you because here was the situation between you and Simbu. Simbu did not go to Baron Castle at all. So pretty much you had the lead after you got your crystal.
Is he now?
He's heading into Baron literally as we speak. He's finally catching up. He did not get trapped by that earth crystal, which kind of made me nervous for a minute.
Yeah, I never even saw an earth crystal, so
That
happy
was, I
about that.
believe, behind the rat tail.
That was the rat tail if you turn it in.
Okay. Yeah, I tried to leave my hovercraft in that area, so if I did find the rat tail, I'd be able to.
I was actually not familiar with that grind spot. I'm gonna have to message Invulnerable later.
Believe
It's
this
a
was
very
the
good
revealing
find.
of it? Maybe?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because according to InBen, you're supposed to reveal that during Saturday.
That was like a little much, so we figure it's like a good time.
Alright. Why wait for Saturday when you can win today? Am I right?
Exactly. I'm sure I'll get trolled very hard on Saturday anyway, so it's all good.
I don't know. With a performance like that and this flag set, I could see you making the finals.
It's the goal. Whether it'll happen or not, we'll see.
Well, you've been doing pretty well as far as like races that I've seen. You're usually pretty reasonably high up on the finishes.
The catalytic was a little not so much in that category, but other than that, I feel like I've been doing pretty well. So thank you.
Well, the Catalyte's a harsh mistress, I think we can all agree.
I feel like between the 3 qualifiers I did, I spent like 6 hours on Zeromus, so...
Yeah, Catalyte will do that to you. Cal, will definitely do that to you. At least they're not doing the ones that I've been doing, which is putting the permadeath roll in effect.
So, what was your thoughts on the Zeromus fight? Like, because you had that long grind. Were you feeling nervous, or were you thinking, I'm probably okay now?
I had the Artemis arrows. I figured I could get away with just zerking everyone. I decided to leave the middle guy as a healer, but that was completely unnecessary as it turned out. But I knew if I can get to like 1800 to 2000 health, it'd be a pretty trivial fight.
Well,
So,
you did make him Ben nervous because he was saying you had bad agility on your Edwards. We were kind of afraid that Zermus might outspeed you.
I didn't even look at the agility. I just put the samurai bow Edward in the middle and figured that'd be good enough.
Yeah, it worked out. From what I saw, it didn't look like you ran into too many clinchy moments. You were pretty smooth the whole fight.
Yeah, I think I almost died to the first nuke, but even if that Edward died, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal, I think. Oh.
And just cut in real quick. Simbu is... Well, I thought he was about to go into the fight, but I think he's going somewhere else, actually. As you were.
Don't remember what I was saying. Too nervous with the fight. Felt like it would go pretty well with that health. Tried it at like 1600 health, and that was a disaster. I know that much.
Oh, yeah. What would you say was probably the most difficult part of the seed?
I mean, none of the bosses were that hard. Exits and shops and realizing they were underground was annoying. I don't know about difficult, but I was trying to find exits before I did any of the key item locations, just so I can get out quicker.
Never mind. I just found that Sumu just was grabbing for Bacchus wines.
I wasn't sure if the amount I had was enough, but it was plenty. Because I wanted to use them to grind too.
Just a quick interrupt. We have a second place finisher. Woobeer has finished with a time of 1:29.05. So GG's to Woobeer.
G to him.
Yeah,
I'll say the one thing I wasn't sure about was if Artemis arrows were guaranteed to be in shops or not. I decided to check Eblin Cave just in case, and they were there, but I don't know if it's a guarantee.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're guaranteed. I think they're likely with T4 or S4. But I mean, I think overall, you played very well today.
Yeah, that fight could have not gone better for your favor, Zilch.
That felt very smooth, so I was happy with that.
Looks like Simbu is finally about to enter his Zeromus fight. So he's got, I think, a little less hit points than you did. So it'll be interesting to see if he can keep up on the Nerf Big Bang dance. There was one point during the race where literally you and Simbu were fighting the CPU at the same time. And he had started the fight, I want to say a good 5, maybe even 10 minutes earlier, but he was doing a strategy where he was intentionally killing the orbs to avoid.
He was grinding.
Yeah. Whereas you just sort of walked up, snuck in the back door, and pulled ahead.
You have the spoon?
Yes, he had this. But he didn't have as many cure items, so I think maybe he was just trying to avoid using up his entire resource.
Oh, yeah, I see that. At least CPU doesn't cause your Edwards to auto-hide. That would be ugly.
Oh yeah, that would be very, very bad. Well, it looks like Neon Gray is starting to fight some bosses now.
And Simbu's just Bacchus-wine his Edwards right now, so we're about to see Angry Edwards incoming.
His health is a little higher than I thought it was. I thought he was slightly lower. He'll probably be fine, actually.
I'm gonna cut out and watch the end of the race. Thanks for the commentary, restreaming, and tracking, and all that.
No worries. Again, GG on the win, and looking forward to seeing how you're gonna do in the upcoming qualifiers.
Two. All right, good luck yourself.
Thank you.
Well, let's see if that Nerf Big Bang paid off.
It looks like he's okay.
Yeah, he's okay. I think he's gonna be fine.
It'll be interesting to see between Neon and Kate who goes for it quickest. Because Kate did have the benefit of doing the door grind, which probably has not gotten them to the point of absolute comfort.
No, I think Kate's needing the anchor Edward, so he doesn't have to worry about the agility too much.
Well, the downside is looking at the health. The Edwards only have just under 1,500, which means you got to be on the ball with those nerfs, or else you're just gonna wipe right out of the gate.
Well, Kate does have the curse ring on the anchor Edward, so healing might not be the issue.
Well, not so much healing. It's just if you don't nerf the Big Bang, there will be nothing to heal. You know, there'll be bits of Edward everywhere.
I think Kate is gonna risk right now, because hello, pass to freedom.
It's a bold play, but I've seen Kate set place pretty high in races before, so I think he's probably going to be pretty good about the Big Bang nerfing. Which, if you can get it down, you just have people healing, making sure that that spoon Edward is standing, and you're pretty good.
Well, speaking of shops, Neon Gray is gonna check out the Naming Way shop in the moon, see what they.
Well, not all shops are equal, unfortunately. And as we found on Kate's screen, the NPCs are actually the final boss of this game. Ooh, Medio phase on Simbu's screen, but very low health.
One Edward survives.
Ooh, lucky. He missed the Medio, but will we have enough time to heal? That's the question.
I think we will.
Ooh, a missed Medio. I think he's good, actually.
I think this is Simbu's race to lose at this rate.
I mean, I know nothing about dying in Medio phase, so I can only hope the best for him.
I have died to Medio phase once. That was because I was doing Porum strats %.
And there he is, Simbu in third with 134.51. Hopefully we can get him in here soon and let us see what he thought of all this mess.
Well, speaking of Kate Sith and Neon Gray, they are actually, Kate Sith is doing very well against Creatomist.
Like I said, if you can get the Big Bangs nerfed, you're gonna be okay. The only real downside you're gonna run into if you can do the nerfing is whether or not Nuke hits the person you don't want it to hit. And if you miss but one, that could be it. And I believe I hear Simbu popping in, so welcome Simbu, and GG on your placement.
Thank you.
So, we were watching with bated breath when you were waiting on getting the crystal, and you could have gone to Baron, or you could have gone to Ordeals, and I gotta wonder, when you went to Ordeals, were you thinking it was because nobody else went there?
It wasn't necessarily that. I wanted to go to Ordeals because if Ordeals had the Sand Ruby, I could reset and get out really quickly. But it had the Rat Tail, and it had the Gauntlet. So it's a little bit faster to do Ordeals rather than Baron, and it's a lot faster if you can reset out if on normal non-gauntlet bosses. And when I saw Zilch finish, I thought, it's probably not here, but it is the Rat Tail, so I had to check. But when it was the Earth Crystal, I knew there's no way he was able to do Gauntlet, Rat Tail, Earth Crystal, and all of that. So I decided Baron is the safer bet. So
definitely the right choice. I admit I got a little nervous when I saw the Earth Crystal. I have confidence that you're good about your strategies.
You made us quite nervous when it was like neck and neck between you and Zilch, because you were neck and neck for a long time in this race.
yeah, I'm wondering if I saw something posted that he was using a different place to grind. My grind was a little bit slow. I got caught up on the CPU for a little while too. I thought I would get more EXP out of that fight than I did. But overall, I imagine maybe he went a couple levels lower and also got some better moon encounters than me. And obviously didn't do Ordeals. Ordeals was a huge time waste.
I think actually you're about the same hit point level. But he had found a grinding spot through Invulnerable where he could actually fight 2 King Ryus without using the Siren. Which, real quick, before I forget, we had a 4th place finisher. Maggie the Cat placed with 137.20. But I did want to ask you, now that you've mentioned grind fights, we saw you were grinding on the wizard enemies. Was there a particular reason for choosing that fight?
I mean, I was just doing encounters on the way down to the spot to get a few extra levels. Plus the warlocks, they're not too bad, especially if you life glitch them. I mean, I think the 3 warlocks is about 100,000 EXP, which is comparable to 2 gold dragons if you don't get the life glitch. So it's honestly, I was going for quantity over quality. You just need enough good encounters, and especially just to get me a little bit of a head start, I think it was a pretty good play.
Absolutely. I mean, there was a lot of stuff, like when you were fighting the evil wall, and you would set it up so that you would die at just the right time so he would kill himself. Everybody's minds were just blown watching.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that he did that much damage to himself. I knew that he would do a lot of damage to himself, but I thought it would be easier to berserk for a little while and do about half of the damage and let him do the rest. But it turns out that he was doing a little bit more damage than my Edward, so I should have just hit both of them, but yeah, that was a very interesting strat. I just had a feeling that I wanted to do Dwarf Castle, and it ended up being the Pan, so I'm glad I stuck with that strategy, and that probably helped me out a little bit over some of the other runners.
Fair enough. Do you have anything to add, Cutton?
No, just when I saw that evil wall hitting for himself, that blew my mind completely, because I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah, one of the best places to use that is in the King and Queen Eblon spot, because that spot has ridiculously high attack power, but relatively low HP. So it will bop itself for like 12 to 1500 a pop, and it only has like 7000 HP. So Edward is useful, you just need to know where to use him.
I've been saying for quite some time now, Edward, one of the more versatile characters in the roster. A lot of people sleep on him too much.
Yeah, he has a lot of cheese potential if you know how to use him. And when you have T4 treasures, he's not a bad character. It's just that most characters are faster than him in other scenarios, like especially for Zeromus. I don't really like leveling up to level 60, and it does take a while, but if you give him time, he will get the job done.
No, absolutely. Like, when I first started playing Free Enterprise, I hated him. Hated him. But the more you play Free Enterprise, the more you see these strategies that wouldn't come into play in the vanilla game. You're like, you know what? He's actually, if not high tier, he's at least medium tier.
Yeah. I mean, everyone has their place. Even Tella has his place. And you just have to know how to use them. Take what you get and use them and win.
I think what always blows my mind is I've had seeds where I had a Crystal Sword Cecil in the party, and Edward was out damaging him.
The dream.
Yeah. But, I mean, considering you got turned around there, it's just really impressive how you played. You got to third even with the turnaround. Very good all around. You're definitely going to be a huge threat in the upcoming qualifiers, as you have been in pretty much all of them so far.
Yeah, I mean, most of your strats from all the other seeds or flags do carry over. Like, if you're good at apple seeds, you're better at all the other ones just because that seed focuses on your menuing, but that's important for all of them. And a lot of routing and decision making throughout the entire set. So that's why you consistently see some of, like Dusty, he's been in every final table just because he's good at the entire game. And it's no surprise that he consistently finishes top 3 or 2 or even first most of the time.
Oh, I know all about Dusty. Why do you think I picked him to be my partner in 2v2? I have what you call a ringer.
Or should I say Team Australia just came in full force?
Well, he's from Canada. We are the Canadian-Australian connection.
Anyway, guys, it's been fun. Not a bad seed, but unless you have any more questions, I'll leave you guys to commentate the rest of the race.
Oh, all good. What about you, Cutton?
I'm as good as GD Simbu, and see you on the next races.
Yep. Good night, everyone.
Good night, and GDs again. While Simbu was in here chatting, we had 2 more finishers. Shukashura finished 5th at a time of 1:42.57, and Zyrak finished 6th with 1:43.49.
GG to both of them for their respectable places.
And meanwhile,
I am questioning right now a lot on Neon side, because I don't know where are they going right now. If only you had Edge. If you only had Edge in this seed, the Masamune and the Murasame would have been helpful right now.
well, I think Kate Sith is just sort of thinking, well, I've already done the door grind. I don't want to go all the way to the moon if I don't have to because I have the pass. Maybe I'll just do Trap Quest. As far as Neon, maybe they're looking for better equipment for the other Edwards. That would be my best guess. Meanwhile, real quick, Flurry 14 just finished 7th with 1:45.26. So GG's.
GG, and well, this is turning out a huge... Okay, now I see Kate riding on Malboros, if I'm not mistaken, because I know that's their template name.
Yeah. For some reason they're called Mobile here.
I prefer... Oh! Neon has actually got to go bow in the olden spot.
Oh, I think I understand what Neon's doing. Neon doesn't have the hook yet. They may have forgotten that summon monsters don't give key items, so they might just be trying to get the hook so they can get that adamant armor. Which, unfortunate, we have the benefit of hindsight to know where it is, what the flags are offhand. But hopefully after fighting this, unless this is just a cheap grind,
It has to be a grind because I remember. Did Neon ever go to the dark elf cave?
not yet. That's where the hook was.
Neon's gonna be in for a disappointment unless they are thinking of just getting experience points.
I mean, that's my best guess. Obviously, you never know quite what the strategy is unless you're the person racing. All we can do is speculate. But that just seems like the most obvious choice as far as why would you fight one of the summons in this particular flag set. And with so many different flag sets going on lately for the World Series, it's easy for them to get mixed up a bit and for you to forget which one allows summon bosses to have a key item and which ones don't.
Things we do just to have this good randomizer, huh, JDP?
Oh yeah. Speaking of the randomizer, I just noticed something on Kate Sith's screen. Some of you may have noticed that when Kate Sith was stepping on the damage tiles, the screen is not flashing. That's because, as of yesterday, a new functionality was added to the randomizer to allow you to turn off the bright flashes to make it more accessible for people who might have epilepsy issues and all of that. And I think it's by far one of the best additions to the game, because anything that can get more people playing, fantastic.
Can't argue with there, like, even though I leave mine on because I'm better off seeing with the flash where Zermus is dead, so I can know when I can hit my timer. But for those who have like epilepsy problem or a photosensitivity problem, well, you have the option to be averted to that.
I mean, I can see why you might want to leave it on if you play with music playing, so you have the audio off, but that has also been made a little bit easier because now you can toggle in-game music on and off and just have the sounds playing. Which, if you do have the sounds playing, you can hear when you step on the damage, how you can hear when Zeromus dies, so it kind of evens out in a way.
Well, speaking of music turning off, because we know that you, JDP, are very notorious for turning the music off and listening to radio, if I'm not mistaken.
Ah yes, that's what I use. But since they've added that mute functionality, I'm likely to leave the audio on from now on.
Well, for me, if I was like, say I'm not streaming online, I would put the music off and use my my usual Japanese pop music to help me grind faster, especially because it actually gets me pumped up to see where Zermus is gonna be today.
I can imagine fighting Zeromus to the sweet sounds of J-pop is quite an experience.
Oh, it can be. Just depends on who the artist is.
I'm looking at their levels. Neon has at least one level 53 character, so it wouldn't be too hard to finish up the grind. I'm curious what they have in mind for what their strategy is. Because even though you didn't get a key item with that summon monster, you might think, well, maybe that one was just a dud. Meanwhile, a Yiker? A Yiker? I'm not sure how it's pronounced, so my apologies there. He finished 8th with 151.26.
GG to the 8th place finisher. So I am not. Oh, I think is Neon gonna go for the Bahamut Ashura boss battle?
I mean, if you're thinking in terms of easy experience at the level they're at, I could see the fight being pretty trivial. But at the same time, I think overall you'll get more experience just fighting random encounters on the moon. Even though they might be slightly more difficult on paper.
I think Kate is about to go straight to 0 after he revives, of course, the Anchor Edward, if possible.
You don't have to
Nope.
actually revive. You get a free heal when you start the Zeromus fight. Because in the vanilla game, there's that cutscene where everybody's praying and each character in your party is restored one at a time. That technically still happens in the randomizer. You just don't see it.
Okay, so because I was just being super cautious every time before I hit 0. So I'm gonna heal everyone.
There's a couple of spots like that where you get a free heal, and if it's easy to forget you're going to have the free heal, because I've used a cabin before going into the Zeromus fight before. Because nothing in the game tells you it's happening, you just got to know that it happens.
I was thinking that Kate was about to menu his items, which I think he's gonna, but I'm not sure what he's gonna do. Oh, he's checking his agility.
And looking at the HP levels, Kate is still not quite where I would put in completely safe zone, but a little bit better than it was before. He's still going to have to try to nerf the big bangs as often as he can. But he might also deal more damage now.
Yeah, it seems like he's on borderline HP percent for this fight. Yeah, he might need to nerf a few big bangs to survive.
It'll be interesting to see how effective that is. Like, it is possible. I've seen people kill Zeromus with just Edwards in the 1,600 range. But like I said earlier, you miss one nerf and that's pretty much it, unless you get really lucky.
All we can say is, may RNG bless your soul, because here comes the huge fight.
It looks like Neon is going to be trying to top up with some trapdoor. This is an interesting play because they do have access to the moon. And I'm not sure I personally would be fighting these right now. I mean, they do have the pass, so maybe in their head they're thinking, well, if I can just get to a good point, I can just go without having to return to the moon. But I would think offhand, if it were me, I would probably just say, all right, we're just going to assume the pass is not important today, and we're just going to go to the moon, finish the grind, and run down.
Oh, I get what they're doing right now. Look at the HP on the 4 Edward they have, but the main Edward with the 1.3k, either they're gonna try to like maybe just grind it up to 1500 for the main Edward while the others are like below. And speaking of finishing places, we just got our finisher, I believe, if I'm not reading this right, JDB.
We did, in fact. You want to give them the time?
Give me a second, because my... Okay, I got it. Dark Kobold finishes with a time of 1 hour, 55 minutes, and 37 seconds. GG.
That was 9th place. Not bad. Still top 10, so GG's. Dark Kobold commenting, unlike Catalyte, I can actually finish these seeds. Which, any seed that you can finish is one to be proud of, to be sure.
as we all say, that Candlelight is not for the faint of the heart.
Yeah, Catalyte. I enjoy Catalytes. They're not impossible, but you can run into impossible situations. So it forces you to think outside the box, which is similar to how the Edward percent works, because a lot of things you would normally do, you can't do with just Edward. So you have to sort of take that similar mentality of, okay, I'm in this situation. What can I do to cheese it, basically?
Or my answer is, how would I adapt to the situation what's been dealt to me in my hands?
So looking over at Kate's screen so far, keeping in line with the health has seemingly been going well. Again, it's a fight where you have to be clenching the whole time, because any second something could go horribly wrong. But I see Meteor Phase, so
that is a good sign.
We're pretty close.
That should be it. Just a couple more. There we go.
It's thinking. That is a 10th place finish for Kate Sith at 157.45. And hopefully we can get him in here. Get some of his thoughts on this. Possibly his thoughts on going in at what I would consider for most players to be a relatively low hit point amount. But I mean, they pulled it off, and many props for doing it at that low hit points.
Yeah, from 1500 to 1700 HP, I will be like praying that I can rush the big bang perfectly.
And I believe I just heard Kate pop in, so welcome, Kate, and very much GG's. That was a heck of a fight.
Yeah, yeah, it's like, I was like, I kind of realized that my first attempt didn't go as well as I wanted it. It wasn't quite enough DPS to push him to the meteor phase.
Well, going in with a relatively low hit point amount, that's a tough fight to do, and I think a lot of people wouldn't even be brave enough to try it, because you have to be on the ball with those nerfs, or else any big bang could spell the end. So to be that brave, claps all around.
Yeah, and I kind of figured that my second round I had better DPS, as you probably noticed.
Oh, absolutely. You won.
Yeah.
So what would your overall thoughts on the seed be?
It was actually not too bad. I would have liked to have had that hook to cash in the pink tail sooner, though.
Yeah, the hook was in a pretty unlikely to pick spot unless you're just going for fan service, which can be rough.
Yeah. There was only one more possible key item location, so I didn't quite get my 16 of 16. Which is the only amount possible.
Do you have anything?
I'm glad. Was that?
I was just asking Kaiden if he had a question for you.
I do not actually, to be honest.
I was actually glad that the spoon and the pink tail were both not rolled out of the sea.
I mean, it was very close to just an all key item seed, so I think just about everybody, except for maybe Zilch, has all but one or two key items. What did you think was the roughest part of the seed, like difficulty-wise? What was the biggest hurdle?
Hey, there. Actually, I didn't really find much of hurdles in that, and about my only wipe really was Bahamut, and that was because I put up the Star Veil too soon, so it wore off just as he put the Mega Nuke on me.
Yeah, that's very dangerous. That can easily happen if you're just thinking the speed's going to be just slightly more than it ends up being.
Yeah, decided, but of course I took advantage of hide strata wherever I could. As you probably noticed, I hid from Evil Wall as well.
Oh yeah, lots of people had very interesting strategies for that Evil Wall fight. Hides were definitely the play of the game there.
Yeah.
We also had Simbu had one Eddie Berserk just to do just enough damage that when it died after like 2 hits, there would just be enough top up to make sure that Evil Wall killed itself.
Yeah. I didn't even. And in my case, Evil Wall killed itself on its very final hit that it could deliver.
I wonder, like, how likely it is for him to not do enough damage to himself, because I think I've had at least one fight where he didn't, so definitely a gamble.
It depends on where you. Depends on where Evil Wall is, and depends on if you can get everyone dead or hidden before the minimal, like in the minimal amount of hits Evil Wall does.
I think Neon Gray might actually be going for Zeroma soon, so we might have another finisher on call, so that's always good to see.
Yeah, with their HP right now, I wouldn't be surprised if they dive right now to Zermus. But just for safety reasons, they'll pick up another Edward.
You have any comments, Kate Seth, regarding the seed? Like, was there anything that you maybe didn't notice about this particular flag set before and that you think is going to carry over into the qualifiers to give you more of an edge that you thought you had before?
I'm actually reasonably comfortable with this flag set. I didn't really care for the cattle light, so as probably noticed, I didn't even bother participating in any further events other than the first one, which I ended up forfeiting out of.
Yeah, I would say Catalite was probably the most polarizing of the flag sets. I like Catalites. They can be smooth sailing, but they can also be virtually impossible depending on what's there. So I can't blame anybody who is not a fan.
Yeah.
And it looks like Neon's just doing some quick inventory checks to make sure everything's on the up and up, and I think maybe we might have somebody in the Zeromus fight shortly. Yeah, dude, is there anything you wanted to add, Cakesep? The floor is yours, so just let loose.
It's just good luck to Neon Gray.
Well, GG's again on the placement. I mean, top 10 in any situation has got to be something that you got to be reasonably happy about. I know everybody wants to be in that top 3 or top 1, but Man, top 10, that's nothing to sniff at, you know? It means you're up there.
And it's almost time to cut the stream.
Well, we'll certainly wait for...
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the end to show up. And then for you to tell me that...
I think Terasu will be giving you the okay there. And it looks like Neon is in fact going for the Zeromus fight, so many lucks to them. As obviously, you want to see all 4 players finish when you're restreamed. It's always a bummer when you don't get to see that, so I'm hoping for a smooth, clean fight.
It already happened to me during my weekly blind race, so I don't want to keep.
But I want to add a note that that doesn't mean if that happens to you, that doesn't mean you're a bad player. It's just sometimes timing's not on your side.
Yeah, it was not that bad. It was just really, really bad decisions on my part.
Well,
and here we go with Creativist round 4.
I mean, looking at the HP levels of Adwarl, whom I'm assuming is the Spoonword, I'm pretty sure they're gonna be fine. Now, the healers could be tricky. Now, that's an interesting strategy. Having the higher hit point one hide. So maybe I'm mistaken in that being the Spoon one. Maybe.
Well, we can think about it this way, though. Zeromus' speed is not going to be the issue for this fight.
I'm just curious of what the plan is. Like, are we going to have all but a couple of them hide and then break them out when they need to heal up? And if so, does everybody have a really good weapon? But I think Neon's the first person of the 4 restream to have a hybrid-y strategy like this.
Yeah, I just realized I just realized that 2 of the Edwards are hiding. I'm like, they are trying to nerf the speed of Zeromus?
I mean, my assumption is that they're being reserved for after a Big Bang to play heal up. But I mean, I'm not sure personally if that is a thing that can happen, just hiding people adjust the speed. It might be. If so, that is a very creative strategy.
I see a shake. That means Big Bang's coming out soon.
Neon's on the ball with that nerf. The first nerf is pretty free. You just have to use a spell. The second ones, you gotta be on the ball with timing. You have to use an item or cast a spell. Something within like a tick, maybe 2. Here
comes the first Big Bang right now. Is it nerfed or is it full damage?
That would qualify as fairly nerfed, but with the low hit point values, obviously it would have not looked like it. And we see they're bringing out another Edward just to have somebody ready to heal, I think.
Or even worse, a nuke target.
Well, that's another thing, you know. If your main damage dealer is going to be that Spoonword, you got to think, you know, who can play Bullet Shield?
It's like, I'm gonna save you.
It looks like offhand the idea is just hide until a Big Bang, sneak back out, life and heal up, and then hide again. Which, not a bad strategy for Edward, because it takes into consideration some of his best tricks. Maybe not the quickest fight possible, but possibly one of the safer fights.
Well, there goes all your berserks because you guys got black hole.
Which not so bad when it's only one Berserker. It's going to be easy to recover that. And there it goes right back on. Bringing up more Edwards than before. I think Neon might be thinking, alright, I need more fail-safes just in case something goes wrong.
I can't blame them for doing that at all, to be honest.
No, absolutely not. Especially if they're going to try to go for a big bang nerf. Like you said, you want to have more options so your main damage dealer doesn't get hit.
Because if your main damage dealer gets hit, rest in pepperonis.
But it at least looks... I don't get a sense of danger right now. This could be a sense of danger here, though. Because you need to have the time to not only revive the dealer, but also heal him and then also hide again. And that's quite a few turns.
Ooh.
And that is not good either. Alright, this is not a good position.
Oh, this is rip already, I can tell. Unless the last 5 HP doesn't get drained.
Okay, managing to hide. I think they're going to wait out the Big Bang, which not a bad idea. It gives you a little bit more time to work with.
Perfect timing as well. The Big Bang just got unleashed.
But they still got to manage to revive everybody up and heal them up and get that Berserker back going before the next Big Bang. And then you got to wonder, you know, with your Spoon wielder only having 1,500 health, what's to say that Big Bang isn't just going to kill him outright?
Well, I did see a shake, and Big Bang number 2.
This is going to be a bit of a recovery dance until one way tips over more so than the other. And it's going to be hard to say which side is going to be tipping. Because all it takes is a nasty nuke cast at an inopportune time just like that. So unfortunately, yeah, that is a wipe.
Ooh.
Ripped over on knees.
A valiant effort though. Like that strategy can work if not for bad luck and just when the nukes were cast.
They're going back in. I was like, okay. I know what this is capable of now.
They were in nuke phase. That's pretty close to meteor phase and the end of the fight. Without how much damage that Spoon Edward is dishing out, all you really need is the right RNG. Now, if you wipe a second or a third time, you might start to think, I might need to get more health on this Spoon Edward. But hopefully that won't be the case. Hopefully they can pull it off. Second try, you know. They were close. Now, what has your thoughts been on this seed so far, Tech? Or Kaiten, rather. Sorry, I was looking at Hirasu's name in the chat.
Well, this seed wasn't that bad at all. It could have been worse. It could have been way worse.
Probably one of the nicer Edward percent seeds. I mean, normally if you're finishing, we got like our top finisher was 121.14. That's fairly early for an Edward percent.
Okay, Zero Mess round 5. Let's go.
See, the bummer with the strategy that Neon's employing right now, and it's not a bad strategy by any stretch of the imagination, but the weakness there is that you're not really having enough time to nerf the Big Bangs, which means that once something goes wrong, it is very, very hard to recover from it. he saw in the last fight. The attempt for a recovery was made, but it was like a dance that just never stopped.
Because once you start that healing dance, the beat doesn't stop at all.
Yeah, I think for most situations, if you are down to, let's say, 2 Edwards remaining, you kind of need that third one just to push you over the top.
Yeah, with this seed, I say 3 Edwards should be long enough to kill the boss at least.
But as I said with K-Sip, anybody that goes into Zeromus with HP levels that low, that is a bold strategy, and it's one that can pay off. Now, me personally, I tend to veer more on the side of, let's say, 1,800 at the minimum, just because I worry that I'm going to miss one of those nerfs. And, you know, you never want to just see the all-party wipe that you can't do anything about, you know what I mean?
I can agree with there, but for my personal taste, I'll go straight with 2K just for survivability.
Well, that illustrates the point, you know. It's a very nerve-wracking situation where you gotta think, alright, do I go towards safety? Or do I go into the thought process of, well, I'm in a race. What's the earliest I can pull this off, even if I have to just hold on by the skin of my teeth?
At minimum for me, I will go with probably 1.8K for each Edward. But for safety, guaranteed reasons, 2K max.
Yeah, that's about the same as my normal viewpoint. And I mean, I can't say that I wouldn't be able to do it at lower. It's just, you know, you get that nervous thought in your head, like, you know, at any moment this could go wrong, and I'm not about that life, you know?
Fair enough, and we see some nuking going on, so one Edward is down and out.
Well, that is the Spoon Edward, unfortunately. But we got everybody standing still, so...
So there's a possibility that life could be in the fair, and one of the Edwards is dead, which is fortunately the one with the lowest health possible.
Well, that's unfortunate, because that's actually the Spoon Edward. We don't want that one to be dead.
I'm talking about
this time...
60, I'm talking about the 60 health max one, not the Spoon one.
No, right. I thought you said the one who's dead. That was my mistake there. I misheard. So it's looking like a hybrid of the earlier strategy where we're having an Artemis bow user dealing out a little bit extra damage. And I guess
that big ring was not even nerfed here, but the Edward survived.
Well, that's the highest hit point value, Edward. So I think that's the hybrid strategy, is healing up that high hit point Edward and then just tanking the Big Bang and bringing everybody back out to heal, which, not a bad idea, really. Now, one thing you could potentially do to make that a little bit faster is take that spoon, pop it on that higher HP value Edward, and you'll do a little bit more damage, I think.
Well, speaking of Spoon Edward, he's back up. But, so the lowest HP possible, with the lowest max HP possible, that Edward is down out by a nuke, so it's berserking time for everyone.
Oh, man, if you're going to have somebody go down to a nuke, it's hard to argue against that particular one, because everybody else is going to be a bit more useful than him. Ooh, unfortunately, you ran out of arrow. And you're stuck in Berserk in punch mode, which, I gotta admit, part of me is kind of hoping that Zeromus dies twice, because that would just be amazing.
If Zeromus dies to a punch, I'll be like, I'll be like, GG, bravo. I am proud of that.
Absolutely, you know. It doesn't matter what place you come in the race. If you win with a punch strat, you're first place in my heart. Ooh, we're in meteor phase. I think
this might be
we're gonna
it.
be good.
Just
Come on.
a few more hits. Come on, just punch
Punch
it down.
strat. Oh, I don't think we're gonna get a punch. And
Nope.
there it goes. GG's to Neon, who I think might have just popped into our chat.
Yep.
Do we have a Neon here? GG, Neon.
GG's on your 11th
Thank
place,
you.
which... Go ahead.
I'm not used to wrangling, but I'm also higher level. Not having Artemis arrows really kind of threw me for a loop.
Well, I mean, 11th place is still not bad, and I mean, you went in there with fairly low hit points in some of those Edwards, and you were the only person that sort of used this weird hybrid strat of, you know, hiding and coming out healing. Everybody else just sort of went all in. And it's a very effective strategy, you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. When you're going in like, say, you know, sub 60, 62, you actually do need to do some like hide shenanigans and just to get through those big bangs.
Absolutely, especially if you're going for heal stretch, you're not really going to have time to nerf. So
That's the thing.
it's the best way to go about it.
Yeah, and the problem, of course, with nerfing is that, you know, in a setup like that, you know, you've got a decent chance, not a great chance, but a decent chance at taking out one of your attackers, which I had happen there. And then, of course, sometimes you run out of arrows because you don't check that, because you don't.
We were hoping for you'll be the only person who will punch Zero Miss to kill him for the win. We were hoping for that to happen.
I was hoping for it too, but Spoon too powerful.
Oh yeah, just gotta get lucky. Just to verify, because we didn't have a chance to say it before, Neon's time was 2:22:06, and we have had a 12th place finisher at 2:24:22. That's Rumblefish82. So GG's to both of you, really.
GG, Rumblefish.